really for a top tier elite pro level chassis. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very important decision in your life. Today we will be entering the Matrix Pro. But before we do that, I pose to you a question similar to one you already may be familiar with in the form of a red choice and a blue choice. Now, if I was to go to the ice cream shop, the local ice cream shop, and order 3 scoops of ice cream with chocolate drizzle, a cherry on top, and crushed nuts on a Saturday, would it still be considered a Sunday? The choice is yours to make. I cannot make it for you, and that choice will determine the outcome of this video. Now, as we enter the Matrix, because you have accepted your fate, I present to you a piece of equipment that has been instrumental on the journey of battling many Agent Smiths downrange. Today we have the Masterpiece Arms Matrix Pro. If you've entered the Matrix before, this is the upgrade that you need. If you've never entered the Matrix, this is the upgrade that will change your life. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain to you how I use this instrumental piece of equipment in the everlasting battle against Agent Smith. Enter the Matrix with me, Pro, and let me bring you in so you can get a closer look at the buttstock area first as we begin our journey from one end of the chassis to the other, and I can point out all the features, likes and dislikes per usual in any review that you see on my channel. Starting in the rear, adjustable buttstock. This is adjustable for height and cant to make sure that I'm in perfect position to take any shot against any Agent Smith that presents himself. As you can see, I've raised the position slightly. This is the maximum height range of adjustment. Unless I flip it upside down, then I can get about another quarter to half inch of adjustment upwards. The cheek piece, this is a newer style cheek piece. This is a much thinner, lower profile cheek piece. So it allows you to really center up behind your scope. So it reduces the need to feel like you're cocking your head over to the side. So I do appreciate the feel of this. And then we have one of the most important additions that I have used a few times when I've encountered Agent Smiths downrange, especially at varying distances and varying heights and varying angles of trajectory. And that is the fully deployable adjustable bag rider here. Now, this bag rider is spring-loaded and is deployed with the push of this button. It is notched, so the center column here is notched, similar to something you'd see on like a Harris bipod. So there are steps, if you will, in the height adjustment. Let me demonstrate that here. In certain scenarios, it is very, very useful, especially if you shoot in areas where you're shooting uphill a lot or transition from like a low-level target to a high-angle or low-angle target. So to have that quick adjustment is a pretty nice feature and something that we've never seen on chassis before in terms of something that's that quick and that adjustable. The only rifle that I can think of off the top of my head that is sort of a mainstream rifle, I would say, and not even really in the competition world, is something like the Desert Tech SRS that does have a spring-loaded monopod in the back. But this is still a different design because this is a much longer and wider piece of buttstock back here. So some of the dislikes that I have about the rear, and it's not many, I do think that it would have been nice to have an option for a rear weight just in case if you're one of those people that runs a 125 barrel, all the internals, all the external weights, you know, a heavy bipod out front, all of that. This chassis could get a smidge front heavy, and there's really no option at all for a rear weight unless you custom fabricate something yourself. If you look closely, there are 2 set screws here, and those will actually lock these outside posts on the bag rider. So if those screws are essentially bottomed out, then you will not be able to deploy the bag rider. I actually had that happen to me inadvertently when one day the bag rider wouldn't deploy when I was trying to use it, and I didn't know that there were set screws there. So later on, I saw that there were set screws, and I just removed them completely because the bag rider is a feature that I use. Now, I've never had it accidentally deploy on me, but I can also see that set screws would be nice if you are one of those people that say, hey, I'm never going to use the bag rider, then you can lock it down so it'll never deploy on you. When I actually am using this rifle and I want to use the bag rider in a sort of match situation, and I'm, pinching my rear bag and the bag rider and the buttstock together, it's a little bit, the button placement I think could be a little bit closer to the front end here, especially if you've got smaller hands than I do. So I wear a size medium-ish glove, medium to large for hand reference. But if you've got even smaller hands than me, it may be a little awkward to pinch a bag and find this butt plate spot here where the push button is. So I think the location could be moved up forward just a little bit, especially for like younger kids or women or just people with smaller hands in general. But again, minor gripe, because I actually do really like the bag rider, and I do think it's a really, really good innovative feature, like something that's not a gimmick. It is nice to be able to use it, and I have found myself using it more than I thought I would. Moving on to the center section here, we've got the grip and trigger finger support, which remain the same from the previous Matrix. When you purchase this chassis, you do get all 4 trigger finger inserts, and you can select multiple grips. The grip inserts are still going to be very similar, where you can spec what size you want. It will come with a couple different versions. You still get your trigger finger support here, and it does come with all 4 sizes as well. The mag latch here is adjustable, and if you watched my original Matrix review, this mag latch and the mechanism is just basically a set screw and a slider. And I actually had that come loose on me a couple times in my original Matrix review video. I talked about it. They improved it. It's still the same mechanism, but they use a different screw with a better head and a better size, so you're not stripping it out. And this one has not given me any problems at all so far, and I have used this quite a bit, obviously, before I posted this review. So I do like this. I wish that more people would take the KRG C4 approach to adjustable mag latches, and you guys will see that when I do my C4 review. But what I do like about the KRG C4 is there's steps, and it's notched on the mag latch, so you can have a clear, I guess, visual picture of where your setting is. Like my setting is on like notch 2, or these mags are set at notch like 2.5, etc., etc. So like actual witness marks on the mag latch, I think would be really cool and something super, super useful, because on here, it's just a slider, so you kind of have to randomly guess like, oh, I think that's close enough. Yeah. So I would have liked to see something like that, just some laser etching, right across, so that I could get an exact measurement of where my height is when it comes to the mag latch. The mag area, something that I miss on the Matrix chassis is that raceway cutout, where on the weak side, so on the left side of this chassis, they would have, half of the mag well essentially cut out, the castle cut, if you will. I kind of miss that feature, and my Accuracy International, my ATX, has that feature, and I do like it quite a bit, but you don't see many chassis employing that anymore. But I do wish that that's something that MPA would go back to, because they kind of started that, if you will. One thing that I've had an issue with, and I wish they would just redesign it at some point, is the actual angle So forget this magwell stop, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the angle is still the same. So if you look here, it's still the magwell itself is still angled on the front. So if you don't put a magwell stop here, what essentially happens is you can actually ride the angle up on your bag, and you can get some bag contact with the mag. So I wish they would just straighten this out. What they did do, though, that I appreciate, and something that you can get retrofitted on your older MPA chassis, is they put threaded holes in the front so you could attach a magwell plate. So they have different versions. This is the version with teeth. Now, this teeth version, I believe, is like $59.99 or something like that. There are 3 different versions of this. So they have this teeth version. They have one version that's just like straight down and really long. That's actually the most common version that I see. I don't know why, because I don't like it that long, but I do see that one. And then they have one that's almost like a reverse hook. So it like protrudes out this way a little bit. So it's kind of like this, and it'll like bite into a bag. I also didn't really like that one because that one seemed to be the smallest of the 3. But nonetheless, per MPA's usual MO when it comes to chassis, they give you all the options and you can figure out which ones you like the most. You'll get a 2-round holder, which is an included value, so I do like that. We still have the inclinometer. It's basically a bubble level built into the chassis back here that's been on all MPA chassis for the longest time. It is nice to see chassis that are still doing the cut here in the trigger guard so that you can adjust your trigger from the trigger guard as far as pull weight is concerned if you run an adjustable trigger. I wish they would just make ambi cuts, man. So the Falcor that I reviewed in my last video is an ambi cut chassis, and it just comes with a plug that you don't even have to run, but it comes with a plug to plug the side that you don't need. So really, how hard is it to just cut an extra notch for a bolt handle on the opposite side? And then that way you could sell right-handed and left-handed for literally anybody and everybody all out of one chassis. Like, you don't have to wait for a left-handed version. I don't think that it takes that much more machining and that much more cost to make an ambi cut. I really don't. Let's move to the Foreend and talk about some more pro features. Starting back here, you will notice QD stud points here on both sides, so that you can attach a sling should you need to run with said chassis while fighting an Agent Smith. You will now notice the wider Foreend here. And essentially what they did was the competition rails that they released for the original Matrix and for the BA Comp and other chassis were integrated into this chassis, so it's essentially built in. What this allows you to do is maintain a full-length ARCA rail with no clearance issues as far as bipod adapters for what attachment method you use for your bipod. It provides you a 2.8-inch wide Foreend, which is, as far as I know, the widest on the market without additional accessories like Baker wings or weights that you can stack or other things of that nature. And so this gives you that same wide Foreend footprint that allows you to get a bigger surface contact area on your bag on various props while still giving you all the adjustments of a chassis. These are M-LOK slots along the side here. It does come with this night vision bridge, which is also nice. The barrel channel is actually a 135, so not a 125. They took it a step bigger and put a 135 barrel channel in here. The maximum barrel clearance is a 1.3 barrel, so a 1.3 inch no taper barrel all the way. They redesigned the interior weight system, so now they're essentially square blocks. And what I like is that there's a slot in the front of the chassis so that you can slide the weights in and out of the Foreend without removing your barrel or barreled action. We originally saw that feature in the original ACC chassis, but the advantage that this has over that design is that because these ride inside of essentially guide rails, even if you don't have the screws in here and you flip the chassis upside down, the weights won't bang into your barrel or, just get all discombobulated. They can only slide out of the front end. The width of the Foreend in terms of not the footprint, but the actual amount of material has been beefed up as well. So if you were to look at the chassis from the top down, the sides are much thicker. I never encountered any flex with the original Matrix, but this is even beefier than that. Again, this is a competition chassis, so it's not going to be lightweight by any means, but this is just that much beefier. And it's actually a nice place to use as a thumb rest. Couple things. So number one, as I mentioned, these M-LOK slots here. While they are M-LOK, because of this bow essentially from the Foreend and the design here, you really can only use the MPA weights that are made by Gray Ops that are specific for this chassis. So while they are M-LOK, they're essentially proprietary weights that you have to use for exterior weights. I have heard that they are working on a longer Foreend night vision bridge, and it makes sense because when I got the chassis, I noticed that here and here you have one on each side, some set screws that look like they're just placeholders for screws later on down the line, and I thought that was kind of odd, but it would make sense now if they are, in fact, which is what I hear, working on a longer night vision bridge that can bolt here, or even a fully enclosed one that can bolt all the way back here. So hopefully they continue with that project and we see that soon, because that would be an accessory that I personally would buy. Again, that depends on your shooting style. Some people are hand over scope. Some people have really long arms and they can reach the front of this and come up on here. I mean, that's pretty crazy. But again, different shooting styles for everybody. But I would like to see them do that as well. So the Foreend is now 16.2 inches, where the original Matrix was, I believe, 14 inches. And you just see that trend across all chassis, man. The KRG C4 is about 16 inches. The ATX is about 16 inches. The ACC, the original, I believe, was about 16 inches. The Falcor that I reviewed in my last video with that longer nose is like 19 inches. So as guys get longer barrels, 26 inch with a suppressor, 28 inch with a suppressor. I've seen some guys run 30 inches with a brake. I mean, the longer Foreends are not a trend. They are here to stay for competition chassis. And so this is just that much longer so that you can get your bipod way out there and get a little bit more stable. As we return from the Matrix, let's discuss where this chassis belongs in terms of price point, market, and does this deserve a place in your arsenal of chassis. Price point for this chassis is actually what you would now consider on the lower end compared to the newest chassis available, and that is going to be at $1,550. So essentially $1,600. Now, again, a couple years ago, that would have been one of the highest price points for a chassis on the market. In today's market, that's actually on the lower end. The C4 is more expensive. The ACC Elite, once you option it out with equivalent accessories to what comes standard with this one, is going to be more expensive. You get a fully optioned out Manners TCS, going to be more expensive. You get the Falcor Rock chassis that I reviewed, fully optioned out, more expensive. J. Allen, more expensive. So when it comes to elite pro level chassis, this is actually on the more budget end, which is, again, kind of crazy to think based on where we were a couple years ago. But at $1,550, you get a night vision rail, you get your 2-round holder, you get a bunch of grip sizes, you get all the trigger finger support sizes. I know that the bag rider is a feature, the adjustable bag rider, but that is an included feature. You get your spigot, which is included in there. So you get quite a bit, man. And what do you have to buy? Well, really, a plate, a magwell plate if you want one. Again, I bought this one. It was $59. You buy the internal weight kit, which you have to do with any chassis. None of them come with it. And you have to buy external weight kits. No chassis comes with external weights either, so both of those are a wash for any chassis on the market. You will also get a recoil lug sort of, it's like a little insert here that is almost like a like a bedding for your recoil lug, and it comes in different sizes to kind of sandwich your recoil lug in the pocket here, which I think is kind of cool. Does it actually make a practical difference or not? I'm not sure, but it certainly doesn't hurt anything. I believe that this is one of the absolute best chassis on the market, bar none, hands down. I have definitely noticed a stability difference with this wider forend versus something skinnier. I have definitely made more use than I ever thought I would of the adjustable bag rider back here. And I do like this mechanism. So now we see the KRG C4 also has an adjustable bag rider. When I do my review, I'll talk about that one, but that one's a different mechanism. That one is just essentially uses gravity, where you just loosen a thumb wheel and then it falls down, or you press it back up. So we've seen it that, and then we've seen there's a company called Adjustable Bag Rider where they have like a thumb wheel version that you just twist, and it's on a rod and it goes up and down, and that can attach via M-lock, via Picatinny, all these other attachment methods. But something like this that's spring-loaded with a button, quick, easy, and it's notched, I think this has a real advantage over some of the other ones in the ease and quickness of deploying when in actual use. Honestly, I think this chassis is good for everybody. One of the cons may be the length of pull if you're using it for a younger person or a smaller person, kids, females, etc. Because the minimum length of pull standard is, I believe, 13 inches. Now you can order a shortened length of pull buttstock and stuff like that, but that's separate, so it's going to cost you a little bit of money. Whereas something like the Falcor, built in, it already has a crazy short length of pull of like 11 and a half inches. So this might not be the best for a shorter person, but for your average sized person, this is an absolute A+ recommended chassis for the price point, the value set. I'm not a huge fan of the 2-round holder. I still prefer like the short action precision, like the little hook and loop, the little Velcro with the stretchy that you just kind of stick on there. I still prefer that over this. But you know, really the fact that you get one, you get your night vision rail, you get your spigot, you know, you've got a built-in bubble level, you've got an adjustable mag latch, you know, the bag rider, all of that. You're getting all of that. And whether you're shooting centerfire or 22, I think this is a really, really good chassis. So I can't recommend it enough. I don't have any major gripes, and I'm glad that they fixed a good amount of the issues that I had with the original Matrix, because that chassis really showed a lot of promise, and this, I think, is that next step. Some of the changes, like I mentioned, for the next version, if you will, of this, whatever it is, the Pro Elite, the Elite Pro, the Platinum, the Diamond version, I don't know, whatever you want to call the next iteration of this, again, would be just kind of redesign this to have this part built in so it's not angled, so it's straight. I think that if they could work out this length of pull so it has, I think the current, again, is shortest 13, longest 14. If you could expand that a little more on both ends, it's super minor differences like that. I really think that they did a great job with this chassis. MPA always puts out quality products, but this to me is one of the absolute best race gun chassis on the market. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I do have more coming along down the pipeline. I know a lot of you guys, when it comes to scopes, have been asking for an 8-40 ZCO review. So I do have that one coming. I know I promised you guys an all-inclusive scope review. That one's still coming as well, but I'm deciding to include the 8-40 ZCO in that review. And the latest scope is this one here. This is a March 5-42 by 56. So I will be doing a direct comparison of this scope and the ZCO 8-40, as well as including both of those in the big scope review. So just bear with me. it takes a lot of time to do this at the quality that I want to for you guys, so I can get you guys all the information that I think is necessary for that type of review. But they are on the way. So we've got that coming down the pipeline. I do have a KRG-C4 that I'm currently reviewing. I'm going to do an ATX review, currently also shooting an AI ATX, and I do have an AI with the AO chassis, if you guys know what that is, the Accuracy Obsession chassis. So I'll be doing a comparison of those two as well, and a whole multitude of other stuff coming down the pipeline, man. I can't wait, you know, to keep pumping out this content for you, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. So please drop any questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe. Please hit the bell notification and a thumbs up so that we can keep making these videos and essentially tell YouTube that we need these videos to go to the top. All right. I appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next one, and stay safe and stay shooting.